Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Omar Woodard. I am a board member with the Independence Public Media Foundation and also serve on the executive committee of the Philanthropy Network, as well as the Strategic Transformation Committee. The history and evolution of the North Star, which we'll be talking about in a little bit, we just wanted to, reiterate the context and the background in terms of how we got there and what it took to develop it in the first place. So on the next slide, what you'll see is that out of all of the activities and incidents of 2020, Philanthropy Network Greater Philadelphia internally from both the leadership and board level decided to think about what are the types of things we could do aspirationally to begin to take us on a path focused on broad liberation, issues of systemic racial disparity, issues of deep and profound philanthropic changes in practice, in the ways capital is deployed, the way partnerships are developed, dynamics around power and who has it. All of those things were conversations we were having in real time in 2020. And so the leadership and the board during that period took that summer into the fall to really try to understand what an aspiration could be that would help guide our next 3 to 5 years as an organization to help either redefine, refocus, or reshape or reframe how we were doing our work and how we were thinking about it. And so there were a lot of pieces, a lot of reasons why the North Star was created, but wanted to kind of give you the reasons, kind of the drivers of it in 2020. On the next slide, what you'll see is kind of the process that it took for us to get there. And so it was an inclusive process. It was one that took some time and a lot of conversation at multiple levels in the organization, as well as with some members. Of course, we're all members of the organization, but we did do some work with the executive team, with the board, and with leadership and staff to come around and build consensus around the type of thing that would take us into the future and would help give us some guardrails and help us develop guidance, not just for future boards and future staff, but also set expectations for how Philanthropy Network shows up in the region as a kind of civic anchor alongside other organizations. So on the next slide, what you'll see is what we landed on, which was adopted unanimously by Philanthropy Network's board in September of 2020, which laid out in very clear terms what an aspiration could be. Now, this was not a prescriptive aspiration. This was not a new or revised mission and vision statement, but it was an articulation of the board of where it was that we were trying to get to and where we thought with members, we could all go together to reimagine how we engage in philanthropy with these types of lenses, anti-racist lenses, anti-oppression, a positive focus on liberation and intersectionality. So we'll have an opportunity later today to dig into the North Star in greater depth in some small group discussions, but just wanted to make sure that you had the broader framing and context in terms of what it took, who was involved, what the process was on timeline, and really the focus of the North Star statement, which is to bring everyone to the table to help us guide what a revised posture for the Philanthropy Network could be going forward into the future. So I will transition this over to Romona, who will take us through some conversation around the Strategic Transformation Initiative. Thanks, you all.
Thank you, Omar. Greetings, everyone. I am a board member representing PICO. I've served on the board for, I think it's 2 terms. I'm also on the Strategic Transformation Committee. I'm here today to share with you some of the background on our planning as we have gone through this important work. I'll provide some context for the strategic transformation process, including where we are now, and highlight a few takeaways from a benchmarking scan conducted last fall. First, as some of you may recall, in 2014, we began a very intentional journey launching a diversity, equity, and inclusion task force. It laid the groundwork for the creation of a board-level DEI committee 2 years later in 2016. Initially co-chaired by Maylee Walker of the Clennell Foundation and Sarah Martinez-Helfman with Samuel S. Fell's Fund The committee's formation signaled a deeper commitment by the Philanthropy Network to address the inherent changes and challenges of DEI within philanthropy. As we concluded our Equity in Philanthropy cohort in 2019 and our previous strategic plan came to a close in 2020, we experienced, along with many organizations, the racial reckoning resulting from the murder of George Floyd. This gave our DEI work a new sense of urgency. It was clear to us action and a new strategic framework would be needed to truly advance the work of centering racial equity in philanthropy. In 2021, we formally kicked off the Strategic Transformation and Capitalization Project to develop a plan that envisions and operationalizes the next phase of Philanthropy Network's evolution as an equity-centered organization guided by the aspirations set forth in the North Star statement as outlined by Omar. To support this effort, we engaged Frontline Solutions to lead the work guided by the North Star of developing a comprehensive long-range plan that advances racial and intersectional equity internally and advances anti-racism and anti-oppression practices in philanthropy in the region. As the strategy discussions began, the board agreed it was of utmost importance to center racial equity and explicitly identify it as a guiding principle. A strategic transformation committee was established in the spring of 2021, consisting of these 12 representatives of the board and/or board level committees. And we do want to thank them for all the great work that they have done with this process. Aware that similar transformation processes centering racial equity were happening at peer organizations nationally, we asked Frontline to explore other models and steps that were being taken by groups around the country, which led to the benchmarking scan we are sharing with you today. The full benchmarking scan will be made available after this meeting, but today we did want to highlight a few areas of opportunity that Frontline has identified. They are to fully integrate the North Star statement into the network's vision and mission, identify issues important to the racial justice movement, and leverage the power of philanthropy to advocate for change, develop meaningful partnerships with nonprofit and racial justice leaders to inform the actions and programming priorities of the network and its members, enhance member services around racial and social justice practices, and secure financial commitments that will sustain the organization and its new executive through this period of transformation. Further, work on the strategy is currently on pause while we conduct the search for the next president. The groundwork laid by Frontline's efforts, including the benchmarking scan, along with a number of key stakeholder interviews, are informing the executive search being conducted by Bridge Partners. We are looking for a new leader whose philosophy is aligned with the North Star and who embodies the vision, expertise, and leadership skills to refine our strategy and carry the work forward. The final phase of work on the Strategic Transformation and Capitalization Project will resume under the leadership of our new president when that person is named later this year. We want to take this opportunity to hear your feedback on the transformation work thus far to help inform our thinking as we move forward. So with that, thank you. And now back to Ashley.